At 6.
On World News Tonight this Thursday, there's been a shooting at an office complex in Atlanta. Nervous about the economy, a hint of inflation, and the stock market goes down. If the country spent more money filtering the national blood supply, it would be even safer than it is. And what about adventure travel? Some people looking for challenge, some people looking for trouble. We'll take a closer look.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. There's been another of those inexplicable shootings. At least 12 people are dead this time. In Atlanta this afternoon, in a private brokerage house where people go to trade stocks and bonds for themselves, a man suddenly began to shoot people. He then went to a second building and continued the killing, and police have discovered that several more people were killed at a third location. ABC's Erin Hayes reports from Atlanta.
The call came in the middle of the afternoon. Shots inside this office building. Police fanned out through the building with a warning to office workers. Lock the doors and stay inside. 9 people were already dead, and police could not find the shooter. Some office workers talked to reporters by phone.
There are 3 other women in the office with me now. I'm just scared, and I just would like to get out of here.
Unable to find the gunman, police cautiously started evacuating stunned workers from the building and a second building nearby.
They said, get down, he's got a gun. There he is up on the roof. And he had a girl up there with him, and he was holding her up over the edge of the building.
I was on the 3rd floor. That's where the shootings occurred. I walked down the hallway. I saw a lot of blood. I saw in the management office a pool of blood. And when I saw that, I ran in my office, told everybody it had obviously been a shooting to get out of the place.
It was surreal, many said. Some did not believe it.
And everyone thought it was a joke or didn't believe him. And we looked out in the hallway, and there was some blood in the hallway.
There was chaos. Someone broke out a window. One man could be seen calling to police from it. SWAT teams scrambled. With the dead in 2 different buildings, police were looking everywhere. And then information began coming in about the suspect.
The person that's been identified as the perpetrator is Mark O. Barton. He had a .45 caliber handgun and a 9mm handgun.
And authorities said he may well have known some of those shot.
He apparently was a day trader at a brokerage firm and was concerned about financial losses.
Evacuations continued slowly, carefully into the evening hours. The injured were taken to local hospitals, told to stand by for more wounded.
Patients, 3 that are critical and currently in the operating room, another 4 that are deemed serious right now.
And then late word of more deaths. Police, still looking for the shooter, learned 3 more were found dead an hour's drive from here. All believed, they said, to be related to this tragedy. Erin Hayes, ABC News, Atlanta.
We know just a little more about Mark Barton as time goes by. He's 44 years old, as you heard. Several years ago, his wife and his wife's mother were found murdered in Alabama. Mark Barton was named as a suspect, but he was never charged. At least some of the shooting took place at the office of a company called Alltech Investment. It's one of a growing number of so-called direct access stock trading firms. These companies provide computer time and special software to clients, so-called day traders, as you heard, who trade on their own. In the other news today, a hint of inflation, which was what it took to send the Dow Jones Industrials down 180 points to close at 10,791. On the NASDAQ, stocks were down more than 65 points. There was a big increase today in the Employment Cost Index, which the Federal Reserve watches very carefully. And when the chairman of the Federal Reserve is concerned about inflation, the market is often concerned. Here's ABC's Betsy Stark.
In this booming economy, finding workers has been a major headache. Many business owners have been forced to offer higher wages and better benefits to attract the few workers available. Today, those fatter paychecks, sign-on bonuses, and expanded health care benefits showed up as a bigger-than-expected jump in the Employment Cost Index. Wages and benefits are the single biggest expense most businesses have. Once they start to go up, it's only a matter of time before customers begin to pay for them. Rising wages and prices create inflation throughout the economy. The Federal Reserve fights inflation by raising interest rates. And the prospect of higher interest rates is precisely what made the stock market edgy today.
Mr. Greenspan had said pretty specifically in the last 48 hours what he was looking for, what his conditions were to raise rates, and you seem to have seen one of those things come through here.
There was other news today that might have eased investor anxiety a bit. The government reported that consumers are spending with a little less abandon, which slowed down the overall rate. The economy is growing, but inflation fears carried the day here, Peter, which is why we saw that big drop in the Dow.
Thanks very much, Betsy Stark on Wall Street tonight. A federal judge has ordered President Clinton to pay about $90,000 in penalties because he gave false testimony in the Paula Jones sexual harassment case. Ms. Jones will split about $80,000 with lawyers from a Dallas law firm, and she'll split about $9,500 with the Rutherford Institute, the group that helped with her defense. About $1,200 will go to pay the costs to the court. The map tells the heat story again tonight. So much of the country is still scorching hot. In several places, several regions almost, temperatures were 100 or more. At least 65 people have now died as a result of the heat. In St. Louis, Missouri, where they've had more than their share, it has now been 15 straight days of heat and humidity, and it is expected to persist in the days ahead. More news in a moment. Rebuilding what war destroyed in Sarajevo, and the tiny spacecraft that is winning hearts.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings, brought to you by Advil.
This is really something. You see this pain reliever? Nothing is proven to work better or last longer. Nothing. You see this one? For 14 years, people have counted on this for relief, and it's gentle on the stomach. And you may be surprised to learn that both are Advil. It's true. Nothing's proven to work better or longer than Advil. And millions of people can tell you it's gentle to the stomach. Strong, yet gentle. Advil.
Now, an important tool in defending yourself against heart disease and some cancers is in your hands. Because there's new news. The FDA now agrees that eating whole grain foods like Total, Wheaties, and Cheerios as part of a low-fat diet may reduce your risk of heart disease and certain cancers. Most cereals aren't whole grain, but all of these from General Mills are. Look for this seal to be sure and help defend yourself against heart disease and cancer.
Summer. Time to get busy with Red Lobster's 30 shrimp dinner for $9.99. 2 choices, 30 shrimp, $9.99. Escape to Red Lobster.
President Clinton is at the NATO air base in Aviano, Italy tonight. He's on his way to a summit meeting with a very ambitious agenda, rebuilding Kosovo and trying to prevent war from returning to the Balkans. 40 world leaders will meet tomorrow in Sarajevo, the city where the Bosnian War was so profoundly intense. So many people regard Sarajevo as a symbol of failure. ABC's Jim Wooten tonight on the potential for revival.
A summer's evening in Sarajevo, and the war seems a distant dream. Yet in the light of day, reality returns. The shredded parliament, these shattered neighborhoods, this broken tower. But if for 3 long, hellish, terrifying years this was Sarajevo, this is Sarajevo now. With more than $5 billion in international aid, a Marshall Plan for Bosnia, the city and country are slowly being rebuilt.
We've seen enormous progress that has been made.
Craig Buck manages $760 million worth of American assistance here, and it has made a difference between yesterday and today. Utilities restored, schools and gymnasiums reopened. The Old Town Market then, and now. And Zetra Stadium, built for the '84 Olympics, burned in the war, once again the city's centerpiece where the international summit will convene. Even foreign troops are helping rebuild, including some of the 500,000 homes and apartments destroyed in the war. This one belonged to former soldier Nazim Mehmetovic, who's waited years to return and is happy to pitch in himself.
Our goal is not for us to rebuild Bosnia, but for the Bosnians to rebuild Bosnia.
Yet along with all the destruction, all this wreckage, there was also massive damage done to the soul of this city, once famous for its tolerance, for its multicultural and multi-ethnic zest and sophistication, all of which lie buried somewhere now beneath the rubble and the ruins of the war. Thousands left during the war and haven't come back. What Sarajevo needs to heal its soul is more people like the Smilovich brothers.
Nothing is going to be like before the war.
Ahmed and Mohammed, former soldiers who've decided to stay.
There is hope. There is always hope.
And that, as much as the billions of dollars, is this city's hope for the future. Jim Wooten, ABC News, Sarajevo.
In China today, the government says it's destroyed more than 1 million books and posters belonging to the spiritual movement called Falun Gong. The Chinese government also says it wants to arrest the group's leader. He lives in New York City and is not likely to return at the moment. In South Africa today, an apology so long overdue that it is in itself historic. The Law Society in the province of KwaZulu-Natal is apologizing to Mahatma Gandhi, the freedom fighter for India in the 1930s and 40s. Mr. Gandhi lived in South Africa before that for 2 decades. And when he applied to practice law there, he was turned down because he was not of European descent. That was in 1893. Mahatma Gandhi was murdered in 1948. When we come back, blood and money. Is it really too expensive to make the nation's blood supply even safer than it already is?
Courage, something shared by countless Americans. Those who risked their lives, those who battled serious illness. When I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, I was primarily concerned with ridding myself of the cancer. But secondly, I was concerned about possible post-operative side effects like erectile dysfunction, ED, often called impotence. You know, it's a little embarrassing to talk about ED, but it's so important to millions of men and their partners that I decided to talk about it publicly. And after all, it can be associated with many conditions, including prostate surgery, high blood pressure, diabetes, or even smoking. And the point I want to make is there are many treatments available for ED, so my advice is get a medical checkup. It's the best way to get educated about ED and what can be done to treat it. It may take a little courage, but I've always found that everything worthwhile does.
We know you want to do more with your photos. Now you can on a Gateway Essential PC that includes a digital camera and the software you need to bring people closer together. All for $42 a month with an Intel Celeron processor. Call 1-800-GATEWAY.
To be the best takes strength, speed, endurance. Now the best way to cure athlete's foot has it all. New Lamisil AT. Strength. Full prescription strength to stop the itching and burning. Speed. These take 4 weeks of treatment to kill the fungus. Only Lamisil AT cures athlete's foot with just 1 week's use. Endurance. A study showed most users were still athlete's foot free 3 whole months later. Get it all in new Lamisil AT. The best way to cure athlete's foot.
The Centers for Disease Control reported today that the average lifespan of Americans has increased by almost 30 years since 1900, from 47 to 76. The century's seen such extraordinary advances in medicine, and so many infectious diseases have been wiped out. Simple math would tell us if it goes on like this, the average lifespan will be well over 100 by the year 3000. Every year, 4 million people in the United States get a blood transfusion, and very often it saves their life. To make it clear at the outset, the American Red Cross says that the blood supply in the country is safer now than it has ever been. But they also acknowledge that with some more money, it could be even safer. In this report, every time you hear the word leukocytes, think white blood cells. Here's ABC's Deborah Amos.
Every year, donors give 12 million pints of blood for patients who need it to get well. However, white cells in the blood called leukocytes can make us sick, causing fevers, infections, and weakening the immune system.
Can the blood supply be made safer by leukocyte reduction? I believe it can be.
Normally, leukocytes are good. In our blood, white blood cells help fight off bacteria and viruses.
But after donation, leukocytes die, then break down, spewing out chemicals that can be harmful. So if the blood supply could be safer by filtering out leukocytes, why don't most hospitals do it?
It's significantly expensive to leukocyte reduce all the blood supply.
In Birmingham, Alabama last year, the Red Cross began filtering out leukocytes.
The primary interest truly was patient care, the initial interest.
At Caraway Methodist Hospital, filtering drove up the cost per unit of blood by about 30%, enough to worry most hospitals and their accountants.
So they come knocking on the door and say, what are you doing? Your prices or your expenses have gone up 30%.
But by using filtered blood, the hospital showed remarkable savings.
We estimate probably on an annual basis we can save well over $1 million with just cardiovascular surgery patients. Their length of stay has dropped by over 3 days.
Last year, the FDA's Blood Advisory Panel recommended all U.S. hospitals eliminate leukocytes from the blood supply. But so far, progress has been slow. The Red Cross, which controls almost half of the nation's blood supply, wants to go to 100% leukocyte-filtered blood by the end of the year 2000. But hospitals still must be convinced that the extra costs will bring savings as well as safety. Deborah Amos, ABC News, Birmingham, Alabama.
To be very specific, the Red Cross says that in the United States it currently filters out 100% of leukocytes, white blood cells, in 4 of its 37 regions. There's another horror story from Woodstock 99 today, the rock festival in New York State last weekend. Police are now investigating 4 cases of women alleging they were raped. One woman says she was attacked right in front of the stage as the band played on and a lot of people stood by. In a moment, we'll take a look at adventure vacations, adventure travel, including the possibility of being kidnapped. A closer look.
There are certain things your body is going through that the chemo is doing to you. I was tired, very, very tired. One time, my grandchildren were all over, and they all went out and got ice cream. And they're all lined up on the porch, all with ice cream. They start from the age of 3 all the way up to 18 years of age. What a photograph that had to be. I did not have the energy to go upstairs to grab the camera. I missed the photograph. To me, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Live your life. That's what I'm doing now.
It's surprising who's drinking Ensure. Healthy people. Staying healthy means eating right. But when you can't eat nutritious foods like these, drink Ensure. With essential vitamins and minerals you find in vegetables, calcium like in milk, and protein like in fish, Ensure's a source of complete balanced nutrition. Helps you stay active and energetic. Drink Ensure. And drink to your health. And now there's Ensure High Calcium, with calcium and other key nutrients to help build strong bones.
It's time. Time for your heartburn to kick in because your heartburn relief gave out. It happens 2 or more days a week, even though you've treated it and changed your diet. That frequent, persistent heartburn may be due to acid reflux disease, potentially serious.
It's Prilosec time. Time to see your doctor about prescription Prilosec. Your results may vary, but for many people, Prilosec provides 24 hours of complete heartburn relief with 1 daily dose. Ask your doctor for more information about Prilosec and if it's right for you. The most common side effects are headache, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. 24 hours of complete heartburn relief is possible. It's Prilosec time.
We're going to take a closer look tonight at taking risks when you take a vacation. In Switzerland today, they're still looking for 2 people missing from that flash flood, which killed at least 19 people earlier in the week when they were doing something called canyoning. Adventure travel is getting a lot of attention these days because it seems that so many more people can do it who perhaps are not up to it and want to do it and have the money for it. First, a closer look from ABC's Deborah Wong.
3, 2, 1, go!
Whatever kind of adventure you're looking for, chances are you can find someone in the extreme adventure travel industry who can help you do it.
People are looking to say, hey, I don't want to sit on a beach for my 2 weeks off. I want to do something really interesting.
We're going to be doing whitewater rafting.
Donna Sevelius is an adventure junkie who's planning her next vacation in Australia.
I want to be underwater scuba diving. I want to be hanging from a rock. I want to definitely be jumping out of an airplane. And when I do it, I'm like, that's me.
With Americans now working longer hours and taking fewer vacations, they often want to maximize their thrills.
When you jump out of a plane, per se, when you're falling out of that plane at 120 miles an hour, you could care less whether you sent that fax out the day before.
And in an era when extreme adventures are widely publicized on television, there are few things that seem out of reach. Even the toughest challenges are accessible to the novice if you have the money. You can even get in line to climb Mount Everest at $65,000 per attempt. Alpine Ascents International has seen its business triple in the last 2 years.
You know, it's bursting. We're certainly pushing the bubble of what we can do.
But as with any high-risk activity, things can go dramatically wrong. In Arizona, a flash flood killed 11 people in a narrow canyon last year. And on the summit of Mount Everest, 8 people perished in a freak storm in 1996. But when accidents do happen, they seldom act as a deterrent. For adrenaline junkies, they will heighten the sense of adventure out there. Deborah Wong, ABC News, Los Angeles.
The whole reason for focusing on adventure travel is to point out there is adventure and then there is peril. While some people may be looking for a physical challenge, others are flat out looking for trouble. From Yemen tonight, at the foot of the Red Sea, here's ABC's Clay Scott.
A trip to Yemen is a trip back in time, where ancient traditions still shape everyday life. Tourists marvel at markets rich in incense and spices, at majestic architecture, mud and straw buildings rising from centuries-old sites, and at tribal customs, the traditional curved dagger still worn by almost every man. But tourists also come here for something else, the privilege of being kidnapped by tribesmen.
French, Italians, Americans.
Marco Lividiotti runs the biggest tour agency in Yemen. He says scores of his clients actually want to be kidnapped.
Especially women.
Especially women?
They said, oh, I would like to be kidnapped by a nice Bedouin or by a nice mountain man. Why not?
Listen to this family from Holland. They expect to be abducted.
My daughter even just made a small basket full of things for the babies and for us in case we would be kidnapped, so that we have something to rely on.
What are these tourists after? A taste of traditional tribal life. The kidnappers actually treat their hostages to elaborate feasts and give them gifts. The kidnappers' demands are unusual. They want the government to pave roads and build schools. Sometimes they get what they want, sometimes they don't. In almost every case, the hostages are released. The authorities have begun to crack down on the tribes. 4 tourists were shot to death during a kidnap rescue attempt. It was the first kidnapping to end in violence. Yemeni officials insist their country is still safe for Westerners, although when we drove one of the main tourist routes across Yemen, we were guarded by a military escort with a heavy caliber machine gun. In the ancient city of Ma'rib, believed to be the home of the legendary Queen of Sheba, the kind of tourists who buy souvenirs just don't come anymore, this man told us. But the more intrepid travelers do keep coming. This month alone, 4 more tourists were kidnapped here, wandering these mountains in search of adventure. Clay Scott, ABC News, Yemen.
There's a lot more about all this on our website, abcnews.com. In a moment, missing the shot, scoring anyway.
There are a whole lot of cereals that don't have a whole lot of whole grain. Of these leading cereals, only one is made with 100% whole grain, only Wheaties. So only Wheaties gives you 100% whole grain nutrition. Maybe that's why only Wheaties has Tiger Woods.
Whole grain makes the difference.
And 100% whole grain makes it Wheaties.
Why do I have Aflac insurance on top of my regular health insurance? Because he has his mother's eyes. Because I still have to teach him to whistle. And because Aflac helps cover what other insurance doesn't. If I'm injured, Aflac even provides cash to help pay bills. So why do I have Aflac? Did I mention he has his mother's eyes? Aflac supplemental insurance. Without it, no insurance is complete.
Glidden and Home Depot together, it's an unbeatable combination.
We are a paint store in Home Depot.
Glidden's been around 120 years and they know paint.
It's unbeatable.
So I can always honestly recommend that you use Glidden paint.
It applies easily, doesn't splatter because it's a nice thick paint.
You just get a brush and roller and you go at it. It covers really well.
It's a quality paint. Good durability, good price.
Glidden has it all. You don't stay in business for 120 years if you don't have good exterior paint.
Okay, things are changing fast. Think you're keeping up? Things change again. Robotics, cloning, cyber, love, time. Can you live with it? So few answers, so many terrific questions as we head into a brave new world tonight.
Just a brief review of the main story tonight. At least 12 people killed in shootings that began at an office complex in Atlanta. Witnesses identified the gunman as a 44-year-old day trader who did business in one of the buildings. Finally, from us this evening, the little spacecraft that could do almost everything. Fly itself 100 million miles on a journey so close to a tiny asteroid, show NASA that there may be a whole new way to explore the solar system. There was just that one thing. Here's ABC's Bill Blakemore.
Deep Space One is already a hero to its builders. The first craft ever to steer itself through space, it can read the stars to find its position. By last night, it had located a tiny asteroid as far from Earth as the Earth is from the Sun, and flew within 9 miles of it. It also has a new kind of propulsion, an ion engine that thrusts tiny xenon particles out the back. So efficient it uses only 2 pounds of fuel a week.
This is like having your car find its own way from Los Angeles to Washington, D.C., arrive in a designated parking space, and do it all while getting 300 miles per gallon.
Scientists did have a small embarrassment. They're not sure why, but they did not get good pictures of the asteroid. No matter, the main goal was to get close. Next, they'll ask it to fly past some comets to show how good a fleet of these plucky little robots could be at checking out our solar system. Bill Blakemore, ABC News.
That is our report on World News Tonight. Tomorrow, why is NASA about to crash a satellite into the moon? Later this evening on Nightline, the latest on the shootings in Atlanta. I'm Peter Jennings. See you tomorrow, I hope. Good night.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source. ABCnews.com, now a part of the GO Network.